Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a disassembly for you on this little guy right here. This is the Clark Custom Knives, what is the name? Huntsman Wharny. Interesting knife. Now, before we go any further, one big thing to note here is this. IKBS. I will show you fear in a handful of balls, is what that little thing means right there. Right, this is a knife that has, well, little tiny ball bearings on the inside of the pivot there. And so, as a result, I am working on a very dedicated surface here. This surface has a lip that goes all the way around it, which actually makes it much easier to keep those little guys contained. But as I'm going through this, I want to make very sure that I'm being careful about that, and that I'm not going to lose all of these balls off to someplace else. The other thing that I need to keep in mind is these little tiny screws here. This looks to be a little tiny hex bit. I'm going to go ahead and try a 0.05 here. Yeah, that seems to be our winner. This is a 0.050 hex bit. Go ahead and put this in the iFixit driver. By the way, I'm using this little Weehaw kit over here. But nonetheless, and if you're curious about any of the tools I'm using, go ahead and check out nickshabazz.com/tools. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and take this guy apart. Now, there are a lot of small screws in this, and so I'm going to keep these in order on the top of my mat here in order to, well, avoid screwing this thing up entirely. And I know already that there is going to be at least another screw or two probably back here hiding under this bit. Okay, that's a nice big Torx bit underneath there. That's good, so I'll put this little chunk up here. Nice inside view of the micarta, right? And this little guy goes here. Then I'm going to pop out these two. Oh, look at that. Beautifully sloped. This is a really well-made little handmade knife. You know, I don't do much of the handmade stuff, but I am duly impressed by this. All right, let's pop that out. Holy crap, that's a tiny fastener. What even is that? Is that the same... Is that smaller still? Okay, let's try this. 0.09, is that what we're looking at here? No, that's a little, maybe a 1.3. Is this a fastener that is smaller than I have? Oh, come off. Oh, hold on. I got an iFixit kit that might have something for me here. Tiny ass hex bits. Come here, tiny ass hex bits. No. Maybe. This could be it. No, that's... Or is that Torx? That's not Torx, is it? What is this? No, that's too small. Let's try this one. 1.3. No, that's too big. I literally have no bit to take this apart. Wow. Okay. Let me check my other kit here and make sure that I'm not being an idiot here. Could that be it? 0.71. No, that's too small. Okay. Let's try this one. That fits. I want to make sure it's not the one above it. Just a minute. Okay, I think I do have a bit here. And so what we are looking at here apparently is a 0.035 hex bit, which, guys, really? Really? Okay, well, it's coming out pretty straightforwardly, and that's good. But, guys, really? Really? That's a tiny little bit here. Oof. Okay. Now, at this point, I just need to remove the pivot, which, thank God, is not like a .-4 or something like that. It looks like maybe T10. That's definitely a downside here, and there's a reason I tend to support non-proprietary, or I'm sorry, well, non-proprietary certainly, but reasonable and common screw sizes, especially under here. Okay, now we are in the danger zone. Because there were a bunch of little balls underneath this little thing here that are going to try to come loose the moment I unseat this scale. Get the blade out of the way. Holy cow. Okay, these are the back spaces here, and there's a little tiny burr on the back of it. Well, no, these are the back spaces, I suppose. The back space is squared. Let's go ahead and very gently and slowly lift this off. Come in. very gently and slowly lift this off. There we go. Wow, that's small. We have little tiny, oh, orange peeled internal liners. Okay, we have little tiny liners here. That is little tiny balls in the liners here. Then on the back side, okay, good. All of the ones in the back stayed on the back. I'm happy about this. What this means, though, is this construction, so these are little tiny IKBS. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit. Yeah, little tiny bearings inside of there. And then on the other side, so what this means is I'm actually going to want to assemble this knife. I'll do the IKBS on one side, then put the blade in place, then do the next. Okay. Cool. All right. So now let me close the 15 different sets of drivers I had out to be able to find one that's properly sized for this whole affair. Wow. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and use some rubbing alcohol here to help clean off some of this grease. We're going to need to re-grease this guy down the road. Again, just making sure I don't have any IKBS over here. Good. My goal here, IKBS bearings, I suppose I should say. There we go. My goal here is going to be to get these bearings in one single place. And I'll show you some techniques to ensure that in a bit, but one of the tools I'm going to use to do that is this little guy. This is actually a watch spring bar tool, but my goal here is going to be to kind of use this to disengage the bearings and get them onto this little piece of cloth here. Actually, I'm going to get the back spacer out of the way here. Is that a bearing? No, that's just a little piece of gunktion. All right, that's fine. The grease here is actually very important. You should never try to put an IKBS knife back together dry, because the bearings aren't going to want to stay in place. The grease or oil or something like that is actually very important for the process. Okay. Now what I want to do is look at my hands, look at my tool, make sure that I have no bearings stuck to sides of surfaces and things like that. It does not appear that I do, so instead, now I'm going to go on ahead and clean off the liner here. Oh, boy. Okay, that's cleaned off. Just again, rubbing alcohol here on a titanium bit. Okay, that's clean. Next up, clean off the blade. Okay, that's clean. Next stop is going to be to clean off these bearings. And so I already have these on a piece of paper, and I'm just going to go on ahead and put a little bit more rubbing alcohol. Got this little pumpy bottle here, so I'll just use that approach. Put a little bit more onto this. And then what I'm going to do is use my fingertip here to just kind of roll them against the paper. The cloth. And that should disengage it should wipe off some of that oil. And that'll allow me to then transfer these guys to a different little paper or cloth pad here. And then I can get rid of this whole affair. And I'm going to want to keep these guys in a separate area. Just going to move those over to a different part of my... Oh, hopefully that was all on camera. Sorry about that. Move these guys to a different part of my little setup here. Now, I check again. I'm going to make sure that there is no further... There are no balls anywhere that aren't on me or on that cloth at the moment. Yeah, okay, we're good to go. So now, can I push the pivot out? I cannot. I probably could if I removed this back bit, but I really don't want to, given the size of those screws. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I just did again. One of the failure modes that I need to watch out for here is getting the bearings into the pivot, the hole in the center there, which is not necessarily so straightforward to get back out again. So let's try not to do that. But my goal, again, is just going to be to get these guys off of there and down onto this little sheet. I should have told you to get some coffee or something, because we are going to be here a little longer than usual when we deal with IKBS-style bearings. The reason that you might do something like this, of course, I'm not a knife maker. Every knife maker is going to have different reasons. But one of the reasons that you might do something like this is that it allows you to... The bearings are very small. So it lets you make the knife very thin, relatively speaking. At this point, I am just targetedly getting in there and picking these guys up using their own grease, basically. Another approach I can do is to grab another spring bar tool here and kind of not quite chopstick them up, but pick them up in that way. Oh yeah, that was nice. Now I can disengage. Beautiful. Come on, get off of there. Bro, don't fight me. I'm the human. I will win. Okay, really? Are these things magnetized? Okay, my finger is not. All right, so I believe now, looking at this, yeah, I have no other IKBS bearings on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip a Q-tip here in a little bit of the rubbing alcohol. And let's go on ahead and clean this guy out. I'll lower that for a second. Lower that. Yeah, that's English. And let's go ahead and clean out this area here. Okay. Now this is clean. Clean off the detent ball. Next step is going to be to clean off the bearings themselves. And I'm going to put one more of these guys down here, which I can then soak in some booze. But my goal here is just to rub the little tiny bearings here against this cloth, and that'll clean off whatever grease was used to put this guy together. My goal here is actually going to be to reassemble this with a slightly lighter grease, just because oftentimes it can speed up the action a little bit, and also I tend to get slightly better results, but nonetheless, that may be a choice I end up regretting. But for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and put these guys down onto there. Okay, so now we have, okay, that's cleaned off. Don't need to clean the backspacer or anything. I think we're good to restart the process here. So, step one is going to be to choose my grease, so to speak. I'm going to use an oil, actually, nano oil, and I'm going to use the 10 weight here. And I'm going to use more than I normally would. And I know that's kind of funny because I normally would use a bunch, but I'm going to use even more than that. And my goal for doing so is just that it will provide basically a little bit of a space for the bearings to get trapped in. I'm also going to try and zoom in here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm keeping this guy right here. And then what I'm doing is I'm using this little piece and I'm just picking up one individual bearing at a time. I'm just going to set it inside there. And the goal here is going to be to have it... Oh, come on. I think these bearings are actually magnetized, which is just not a joy. I may have to take a different route, but for the moment, this is working. No, okay, good. My goal is just to have... And I may hit a point where it's actually easier as I have more of them in there. But the goal is just to make sure that every one of these bearings ends up in that little path. Oh, it's a twofer. Good. Drop those two in there. Well then. Come on. Come on. This is not exactly a... Well, in the words of Marie Kondo, this doesn't spark joy, right? I totally get why makers sometimes do this. The loose bearing thing. And it's not an out-and-out deal breaker, but it definitely does make things less enjoyable. Disassemblies definitely get trickier. Okay, now here I've got 3 of these guys on this, and that's good, but they're not in the right orientation, really, to sit in that groove. So I needed to make sure that I dropped one of them, and then the next one. Hey, good. Okay, we're chooching along here. Okay, bro, I don't need that many balls at once. Yeah, we're making progress here. Okay. Good. Sure, I'll take... Oh, no, not quite all 5. This is a process. So while I'm doing this, There we go. Okay, beautiful. So we have all of the balls in their relative positions here. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of make sure and adjust things. Without, oh, no, took one with me. No, I don't want one for the road. Okay. That bunched a couple of these guys up. You want to make sure they're relatively evenly distributed. Otherwise, oof. I shouldn't have gone back in there. I was so close. And then I lost it all. Okay, come on. Sorry, I'm right off camera here. There's a tension between wanting to do this super up close. Like if I had my druthers, I'd be wearing a jeweler's loop right now and, 2 inches away from all this. But, okay, these balls are definitely magnetized. In a perfect world, I would go get a Q-tip, or I'm not a Q-tip, a toothpick. But I don't know that we have toothpicks in this house. But that would be an important part of a knife disassembly toolkit. Okay, bro, seriously. What else do I have that is non-magnetic and sticky? But not in this. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're in. Hallelujah. All right, so those are, I'm looking at them from the side here to make sure everything's on the level. Good. Now, next step. Once I put this blade in place, I am not taking it back off. I put a little bit there, a little too much there, actually, frankly. I'll redistribute a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit onto this guy right here. Now, what I can do, now that I've lubricated the 10-ball path and whatnot, I can drop this blade into position. I can drop this blade into position. Come on, you little bugger. Go in position. Okay. Oh, this isn't great. Okay. So, now I have a different problem, which is that I need to get all of the... Right now, this is not in proper position, right? Things are jacked up such that this here can go past the blade. But the problem is that's not inherently a bad thing for me at the moment because I want to make sure that, like, I want as much pivot up here as I can because my goal now is going to be to put these guys, the other set of bearings around the pivot there. So I'm going to bring these other set back into position here. And now we're going to try the same thing, except, is there a... Actually, hold on. I'm going to try a different tool here. This is a little guitar picky style thing from iFixit. Little piece of plastic, but it might actually do the trick for me a little better. I'm going to use, again, just a little bit of the oil on the tip of this thing. That should help me pick this up. Yeah, that'll do. So I'm going to put a little bit more oil directly onto the tip of this. And the goal here is just going to be, oh, this is brilliant. Some days I am a brilliant man. The problem is, of course, going to come when I need to move this lock bar back down. And I will need to do that to reassemble the knife fully. But this works so much better when these little balls are magnetized. And again, the key component here is the little bit of oil I've placed on the edge of this thing. In fact, I think I'm going to re-up a little. Just because that's what's picking up these guys, is the surface tension against that oil. Whoa, danger. Okay, good. 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 And good. Almost There, and I'm using very little force, because with something like this, it's very easy to yeet one of these balls across the room. That ain't great. Good. I'm not getting greedy here. I'll take 2, but 3 is a little much. And then one last one. And we are in place. Okay. Now what I need to do is get the lock bar down. Now what I need to do is move this, like get this liner in position, while holding the lock bar down. And then as quickly as I freaking can, quick like a bunny over here, let me zoom you back out, I need to get this pivot screw. I have this driver close at hand, and I'm going to have, actually before I go further, I'm going to reapply my Loctite to the pivot and just get this on the driver. That way I don't even have to think about it. Clean this screw off. There we go. Whew. This is a challenge. Oh, come on. Okay. Lock bar down. Now I need to keep it there. Now the goal is going to be to set this down directly onto the bearings, so that the bearings go into their little hiding hole. Engage the lock bar. Good. Bearings are all in place. Screw it. No, not like this. Come on, get that in position. Tighten, 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 tighten. Okay. We've just hand tightened, obviously. And everything else is out of whack because the back spacer isn't in place yet. But I want to make sure that this lock bar is in place. Okay, I'm going to tighten this a little further. Okay. Now everything seems to be roughly in position. I have a couple of questions, though, for myself that I need to ask. One of them is, are the balls still in the place they should be? And the way I answer that is by looking carefully through there and seeing that, yes, this is roughly cylindrical, the layout of the balls. The other question I got to ask myself is, are there balls on my table that should be in my pivot? And the answer appears to be no. And actually things are running very smoothly, which means that I think everything is in place. And as I do this, I see the balls moving, but they seem to be in position. Okay, holy crap, I think we're good to go. So now we need to just do all the rest of it, right? And the way I do that is by doing the rest of it. I kind of... I know for a fact that this is inside. I know for a fact that this reads, this sticks out like this. Okay, good. Next step is going to be to attach these little side spaces to it. And I'm going to use, again, a little tiny thin layer of oil here. And that'll serve as sort of an adhesive, at least for the moment, of the... to hold these plates, basically, to the side of the back spacer. And let's make sure that this aligns. That aligns good. Let's make sure that this aligns. That aligns good. So now I have one cohesive unit with the two plates to either side of the back spacer. My goal is going to be to gently... there we go. Pop that loose. My goal is going to be to gently insert that in such a way that those stay in alignment Ah, see, look. I hit the side. This is like, what's that game, Operation? Let's go ahead and use this pair of tweezers here. Okay, now I've gone out of alignment at the top here. Damn. I failed. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Okay, get everything in alignment to start with. Even just rough alignment works. God, the tweezers just don't want to grab there, do they? I'm going to use a different pair. I'm going to try these guys. That gives me a better gription. I'm going to kind of wedge this apart just a little bit with my fingers. Okay, we're roughly in position. Okay, oh, come off it. Okay. I'm going to drop this in. Right now, this is pure optimism, because I don't know that the bottom spacer is in position. It is not. It is decidedly not. I got the top one speared at least. So that's a start. Right? That's the spirit. Okay, now I'm going to use my little MVP tool for the day. This little pick. And everything is a little out of whack here because the back spacer ain't quite right, but I'm going to try and, ooh, fail. Okay, I'm going to try a different approach. And this might be a better approach, generally speaking. Okay. I'm going to get the back spacer in position. Then I'm going to get this screw. No, don't jump off of there. Okay. I'm going to take this little bit here, and I'm going to try and hook it on the screw in the front here. This is much like the dealer who lent this to me. This disassembly is unfortunately hellacious. Oh no, don't fall out. Okay. I'm going to use my tweezers here. All right, no. Come on. Just going to slip that into place here. No, not quite. I need just enough clearance for this. Like the screw needs to stick out just enough that I can put this over the top. Am I in? I'm in. Okay, good. Now what I'm going to do is just the oh, God, that's right. It's the smallest bit ever. Okay. Now that's slightly more in place. Now what I can do is use, now that I know it's working and rotating right on one axis, I'll use this pick, basically, to position the other half in such a way that I believe this can go through and spear it. I think we're in. No, that's the other bit here. Okay. Great. Now, to get everything actually running properly, what I'm going to want to do is do this all, do the rest of this with the blade open. What I want to confirm first is is this all fitting right? Yes, it is. Good. That means I've got things in right alignment, etc. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down. Both of my backspacer screws are now tightened in place. Now, my pivot, I believe, is a little loose, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up. And that's now in place. At this point, the knife should function as normal. Actually, it functions a little smoother. Oh, that is nice. It is dead centered. Hallelujah! Oh my God! That was a whole affair right there. Whew. Let's go on ahead and put this thing, let's take it home, boys. Let's take it home, and gals for that matter. Next step, and I know I need to put this piece on first because this angle is that away. Whew. We can take this bit out and hopefully never need it again because this is the only knife that's ever going to need that bit. Oh, that was an experience right there. But the important thing, I think, if you're going to take anything away from that disassembly is just that patience, and you'll get there eventually. And I tried to force things, speed things up. Might have been problematic. I'm sure there were better ways to do it. Feel free to comment down below if you're like, you idiot, you should have just... because you're probably right, but all is well that ends well, right? Now I need this last bit of micarta here, which I will put on over the top here. And if this were having trouble staying in place, I could do the same oil trick, but I don't feel like I need to. Okay, then. Let's get this in position here. And not fully cranking that one down until I get the other one in place. Okay. Now I know they're both in alignment. Tighten that down. Tighten that down. Tighten that down. All right. Well. Interesting. We have a little bit of oil on the lock face, which is resulting in what sounds like a little bit of stick. So let me just clean that off a bit. Oh, a little bit of something on the lock face. There we go. And beautiful. We are back together. Everything is running actually a little smoother than it started, which is nice. But that was an experience best described as harrowing, and not necessarily something I'm going to recommend to a novice knife disassembler. Although you just watched well, maybe I'm not a novice at this point, but you watched an idiot do it, so clearly it'll be okay. Anyways, hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and may the rest of your day go way smoother than that did. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.